All righty. How was your work session? Just give it a stretch. Oh man, I started laundry, but I haven't really done much of anything else. I've just been kind of just I don't know, let my brain just kind of just wander and stuff. So hopefully you are being productive. At least I'm getting laundry done. I haven't done any post radio show promo stuff yet. Yesterday was a long night. We actually ran over on the show because we were doing, like I said before, like tomorrow is Nujabez and Jay Dilla's birthday. So normally around that time, we kind of like play a little bit more of their music on the show and kind of talk about it. So we kind of like went over. The show is normally 2 hours, and it was almost 3 hours. And so the longer the show, the longer the post show stuff, because I get it ready to be uploaded to like I record them, and so that in podcasts and things like different podcast catching apps, so people can check out later. And yeah, it was a long one. I was having issues with where I uploaded, like it took forever. It took forever, but you know, it's up, it's working, so that's good. And just have to now do the post promo stuff. So all right, so this one's gonna be quick. It's gonna be, well, I always say that and always go over, but I wanted to talk about a thing that actually came in handy like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh, it was a good thing I knew about that. It's one of those things like you had it in the back pocket, and when it actually came to be useful, you pull that out and be like, oh, I had this thing that I've always had in the back of my brain that is always there. I kind of never really used it until I saw the need for it recently, and I was like, oh, great. So what I'm talking about is this CSS property called aspect ratio. I'm not sure how long it's been a thing, but let me share my screen here. I don't think I'm gonna need an audio, but I'm gonna share it just in case. But so aspect ratio. I'm going to post a link to this in the so that it'll be next to the recording, so you can always check it out for yourself. All right, so aspect ratio. The aspect ratio CSS property sets a preferred aspect ratio for the box, which will be used in the calculation of auto sizes and some other layout functions. So the situation that I came into was that someone wanted to embed like a video player into their site, but the thing was it wasn't being responsive. Like it was just like this like tiny square, so it wasn't like filling out the whole section. And so I was like, oh yeah, you could just use aspect ratio, because previously you had to do like this CSS hack where you had to add like padding bottom, and it was like 56.25% or some weird thing, and like the width was like 100 and the height was like 100 or auto. And so then when the view support would go big or small, it would size it, and then you had to have like 56.25% so that the bottom would always kind of like grow. It was like the weirdest hack. And so, but now we have aspect ratio, where you just say, hey, my aspect ratio is going to be 1 by 1, so it's like a square. So the first property is the if I remember, it's the width. Let me see. Yeah, so it's width / height, right? And so it looks like you could set it for auto. And so with an intrinsic aspect ratio, that use that aspect ratio. Oh, so I guess if the stuff inside has a specific aspect ratio, it'll use that. Otherwise, the box has no preferred aspect ratio. Size calculations involving intrinsic aspect ratio always work with the content box dimensions. And we'll talk about content box, border box, because that's a thing. And then, yeah, so ratio. So when you put actually something in there, the box preferred aspect ratio is a specified ratio of width / height. So remember, it's width, then height. But then if the height and the preceding slash are omitted, so the height defaults to 1. So if you just put one value, I guess this becomes like the width, and then the height is just 1. I think that's what I get from that. I never really played with it. I always put both. And so yeah, so okay, so if height and preceding slash, so if this one and the slash before it aren't there, like as it is here, height defaults to 1. All right, so I guess it just goes by the width. So then I guess if you put a 2 here, it'd be like 2 like width slash 1, I'm assuming. So it's like just like math, like if you ever have a 1 on the bottom, it's like it's not there, it's just the thing at the top. So all right, cool. Then size calculations involving preferred aspect ratio work with dimensions of the box specified by box sizing. Now, if I'm not sure if you ever uh, like at the very top of your CSS stuff, like with the star, or if you do it on the body or whatever, you set like border sizing, box sizing. I always get that mixed up. Box sizing. So that is important because you can see here, and so this is the box sizing that it was referring to. I'm gonna put this in the thing here. So it'll be next to the actual, what do you call it? Archive video. All right, so now here, so you see, okay, so we have this box. So the child container here, right? So that's what the CSS is on. And its box sizing is content box. And the width is 100, right? So you can see within the parent container, the content of the child container is fitting 100%, the width, right? Cool. So that makes sense. But now here, what happens, still the same content box, and the same width 100, but let's put a border around it, right? That's 10 pixels and a padding of around that of 5 pixels. So let's see how that looks, right? So here we go. So because padding is because it goes margin. So from outside in, it's margin, border, padding, and then like the content, right? And then to check that, I'll show you how to check that. So here, so now you see how it kind of leaves the parent container. And that's because what happens is you're adding the child container plus the border and then the padding also. So that's why it's kind of pushed over, right? And so now, if it's not what you're expecting, what you can do is border box. And so the border box takes into consideration the padding and the width and the content, and that makes that all under the 100 width, 100% width, right? And so whereas the other one is like, oh, the content box is going to be 100% width, then everything is added on top of that. Whereas with the border box, it's like, all right, so I'm gonna take the actual border and then smush all that in. So like, yeah. And then to check to see the same thing I was talking about. Why is it? Okay, here we go. So in the inspect element, which is I always find interesting. So like you can see, scroll down. So here you go. So like margin. So you can see as I highlight. So there's the margin. Like we said, it's 32. Then we have the border, which is 10. And then we have the padding, which is 5. So hopefully you can see that. But yeah, so I always thought that, and here's the content, the actual thing. So the content, then the padding, and then it gives you the numbers. So you can see it's 5. And so that matches with what's in the code. And then you see the border, again, is 10, and then with the color of like the blue. And then there's a margin, which I think is just kind of like, is just what it was like calculated pretty much. And so because I don't see it in here. And so if you ever get confused on like what goes where, you can kind of just look at it that way. It's in the browser. So that always helps me out as well. So yeah, cool. So that's it. So then you can see again, is all the same stuff, except now that you making sure you get a 100% of the content box. See right there. Whereas before, so I think these changed. So 170 and 60. Yeah, see, it changed to 140 now because that 100% now applies to everything and not just the content inside. So, but yeah, neither here nor there. So that was what that was talking about, the box sizing. So when you're doing your aspect ratio, it depending on whether you choose content box or the border box, that's how it's going to be calculated. So just kind of, if it looks weird, check the box sizing. If it doesn't look how you want it to, and so for the aspect ratio, kind of like to visually see it. So shouts to the folks over at web.dev. I always check them out for some stuff. And I'm going to add a link to this so you can check it out. So this is just part of the like, it's like with layout patterns. And so it just kind of showing you the different patterns. And so they talk about aspect ratio and they're using it for an image card. And so it says image. I mean, it could be also for like a video because that was the use case I used it for. But so, all right. So we have the parent, just like we had before, as you can see from the box size. So the parent container, right? And then we have the card, which is the blue part here. So the parent container is outside here, the white part. Then we have the card, which is the blue part here. And then you see we have the H1, the video title, right there, video title. And then we have this thing here, the visual div with the class visual. So that's the green part here. That's what this is. This is the green part. And then you see it says we have a paragraph tag with the descriptive text goes here, which is there. So it's kind of like a basic layout of a card that you would have on a website, right? So now let's say this is like a still shot, like a screenshot from a video, and the video is 16 by 9, and you don't want it to be all smushed and like, smushed, and so, and not, proportionate, right? Because sometimes you see some websites, they'll have the picture and it'll look good on like a bigger thing, but when it gets smaller, it gets all smushed, right? So take a look at the CSS. So with that, we have the parent, and it's display grid place item center. So that's centering the card within the parent. So it's centering it in here. And then the visual, remember, that was the green part, the class. And so they're saying the aspect ratio of 16 width by 9 height. And so a lot of videos are shot in 16 by 9. Some are 4 by 3. So you could also put 4 by 3 here if you wanted or whatever. And so that way it would also be proportionate. So if you know like what the video or what the image is already, then you can set the aspect ratio so that it keeps that depending on the regardless of the size. And then you see the card, the width of the card is 50% of the actual outer box thing here. And then display flex, and then you do in columns so that they align up and down. I don't know if you needed to do display flex because they're kind of already up and down, but neither here nor there. And then they have a padding around the card. So that's where you get that 1 rem around there. Yeah. Did I do that right? Yes, padding. Yes, because here's the border, and then there's the margin out there. Yes, padding. Again, we can always check out the inspector tools. When in doubt, check out the inspector tools. That didn't show up. Why didn't that show up? Inspect. So yeah, so here we go. Did I select the right one? Oh, the card. Here we go. So card. So it has a border, like a little slight border, and then there's the padding, which is like the 1 rem. Rem is like whatever the default font size is. So that's why it's 16. And then we have the inside. So there's the padding from the 1 rem. So yeah, so that's why we have the little spacing between there. Cool. All right. Oh yeah, so I wanted to resize it so you can see that it keeps the thing here. Oh, nope, come on. So you see how it is there? And then, whoops, see, it keeps the same aspect ratio, regardless of how small it is or how large it gets. So yeah, so I just want to talk about that because I came across it like in the real world, and so there was a need for it, and so yeah, so that's pretty much it. and I just wanted to talk about that. I thought it was cool. And so, yeah, so they have a bunch of other stuff here as well. So, like clamping a card. I think I spoke about the clamp CSS before. That thing is super cool. And it's kind of like it does like, it's like a function. And people say CSS is not like a programming language. Like this is the min that it could be, this is the max that it could be, and then this is what it's going to be in between. And that's just super cool. Yeah. Yeah, min, max, and the actual size for the card. And so it's this little warning thing means that it's using a container query thing, and that's not really baked into the browser yet. So what else? Oh yeah, and then they have the different things here. And what's cool is you can like resize them. So you saw how that switched? And they give you like the CSS for that. No JavaScript needed or anything like that. It's just pretty cool. So yeah. So if you ever want this sort of, layout for your sites and things, they kind of show you how to do it. It's called a deconstructed pancake. And the Holy Grail one is pretty much like almost every website is laid out. So, with the header and the footer. And I'm over time now, so I'm definitely going to have to stop. So you see how the center section gets bigger, because that's normally how it goes. And then you get small. So normally it would all go on top of each other. Why don't they have that? All right, neither here nor there. I'm blabbing on. So again, the internet is super powerful and it's super dope. So, all right, get y'all back to work. So again, thanks for hanging out. Stop the screen share. I'm gonna send y'all with some traveling music, and I'm gonna go and actually do some actual like work. So, all right, here we go. So this song is Anthony Cruz, aka A Butta. The track is called Thank You, and I want to thank y'all again for hanging out. So see you 15 minutes after the hour. All right, enjoy. Hopefully that helped with the aspect ratio. So maybe now you know about it, you have it in your back pocket, and you can see the use for it, and like, oh, I know about this thing. So, all right, cool. Thanks again. Talk to y'all later. Anthony Cruz, aka A Butta. Thank you.
I want to say thank you for holding on when a brother was down and out. Now I feel so strong, and I want to say thank you for being there when a brother had nowhere to turn to. You were there, and I feel like and everybody says we spread love like I want to say thank you for holding on when a brother was down and out. Now I feel so strong, and I want to say thank you.